It is the middle of August, and the Mississippi runs the color of coffee gone pale with milk. You are standing on a bank in the American interior, hundreds of miles from the sea, in fresh water so brown you cannot see what is under you. Nobody who fishes here has ever had reason to say the word shark. But in 1937, two fishermen near Alton, Illinois, hauled one out of this exact water. A bull shark. People have called it a fluke ever since. They are wrong. Some of these sharks are being born up here. Start with the catch itself, because everything turns on it. Alton sits on the Mississippi in Madison County, Illinois, roughly 15 miles upriver from St. Louis. Follow the water from there down through Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, out past the Delta and into the Gulf, and you have covered something on the order of 1,740 river miles. That is the distance between this fishing bank and the nearest saltwater a shark is supposed to live in. Hold that number, because everything that follows leans on it. In the late summer of 1937, two commercial fishermen named Herbert Cope and Dudge Collins kept finding their traps torn apart in the night by something large. They built a heavier trap out of strong wire, baited it with chicken guts, and figured they would finally land whatever big catfish had been raiding them. What they pulled up the next morning was a dead shark. 5 feet long, 84 pounds, a blunt snout, small eyes, the unmistakable heavy build of a bull, a saltwater apex predator lying in the mud of the American Midwest. They hung it up at the Calhoun Fish Market, and for days people came from all over to stand in front of the thing that could not be there. Old men who had worked the river their whole lives, children on their fathers' shoulders. A dead ocean predator laid out on ice in a Midwestern river town, hundreds of miles from any coast. And that crowd and one working camera are the only reason we are talking about it now. Someone took photographs. The Illinois Department of Conservation logged the catch, and years later scientists went back to those images and confirmed the species. Without the photos, it would be one more fish story swallowed by the river. With them, it stands as the farthest inland a shark has ever been confirmed anywhere in North America. So the question is not really whether it happened. The question is how a fish built for the open ocean ended up in the heart of the country, and how many more made the same journey without ever ending up in someone's trap. Stay with me, because by the end of this you will understand why the comfortable answer everyone reaches for is the wrong one. The answer is stranger than the catch. Before we go any further, I want to know something. Which river or lake are you closest to right now, sitting where you are? Big city or small town, it does not matter. Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to see how far this story reaches. And if rivers and the things moving under them are your kind of story, subscribing is how you keep them coming. Here is the piece that makes the impossible suddenly make sense. Almost every shark on Earth would die in that river within hours. Their blood is saltier than fresh water, so in a river, the water floods into their bodies, their cells swell, and their systems fail. Fresh water drowns a shark from the inside. The bull shark is one of a tiny handful that simply refuses to obey that rule. Its name is osmoregulation, and once you strip the word away, the idea is beautifully simple. The bull shark quietly replumbs its own chemistry. Its gills, its kidneys, its liver, and a special organ called the rectal gland all work together to hold its internal salt balance steady as the water around it turns fresh. In a river, it floods out enormous amounts of very dilute urine and lowers the urea stored in its tissues, bleeding off the extra water before it can do harm. A great white shark cannot do any of this. Drop a great white in the Mississippi and it dies. Drop a bull shark in and it barely notices. And this is a real animal, not a rumor. A big female bull shark can reach about 11 feet and 500 pounds. She is thick through the body, gray on top and pale beneath, with a wide flat snout and small eyes. Those small eyes matter because the bull shark does not hunt the clear blue water you see in documentaries. It hunts the shallow, warm, muddy water where sight barely works, and it can feel and smell its prey instead. It is known to bump a target first, a heavy shove from that blunt head, then come back to bite. In water you cannot see through. That first contact is often the only warning anything gives. That preference for murk is exactly why it is so dangerous to people. Along with the great white and the tiger shark, the bull shark is one of the 3 species behind most attacks on humans in the world. And unlike the other 2, it favors the warm, cloudy, waist-deep water near beaches and river mouths. The water people actually swim in. So there it is, the comfortable answer, laid out clean. The bull shark can survive fresh water. One of them wandered into the mouth of the Mississippi, kept swimming upriver because nothing stopped it, and finally turned up dead in a fisherman's trap a very long way from home. A tragic, freak, one-way trip. Case closed. Except it is not closed, and this is the moment to subscribe, because what comes next is the part people refuse to believe. These sharks are not lost out here. Down in the warm water of the Gulf South, some of them are being born. For a long time, the Alton shark sat alone as a curiosity. Then a paleontologist named Ryan Shell at the Cincinnati Museum Center, working with a librarian named Nick Gardner at Potomac State College in West Virginia, decided to take the whole legend seriously. They went through hundreds of reports of sharks in the Mississippi and published what they found in the journal Marine and Fishery Sciences in 2021. Most of the reports fell apart in their hands. Outright hoaxes. An April Fool's joke about shark teeth in a Minnesota creek that got picked up and reported as real news. Freshwater fish mistaken for sharks. In some cases, a shark caught out in the Gulf and quietly dumped off a boat upriver. What survived that scrubbing was Alton, 1937. They also listed a second catch from 1995, a bull shark said to be pulled from a grate at the Rush Island Power Station near Festus, Missouri. But here is where honest science looks different from a good story. 2 years later, the same researchers had to walk that one back. New evidence pointed to the 1995 case being a probable hoax, and they said so in print. Even the experts are still separating what is true from what somebody made up. Now, hold on to what that really means, because it is not comforting. Shell and Gardner did not conclude the sharks were absent. They concluded something much harder to sit with. A bull shark in a river hugs the bottom during the day, in water you cannot see a hand's length into. The researchers pointed out that the locks and dams everyone assumes would stop a shark do not stop gar or sturgeon of the same size, and that bull sharks slip through locks just fine in other parts of the world. Remember what this river is. The Mississippi runs more than 2,000 miles and drains something close to 40% of the lower United States, a system of channels and backwaters and side sloughs no one could ever fully watch. And think about what it actually took to put the Alton shark into the historical record. It had to swim into the one trap on the one night belonging to the 2 men who bothered to haul it into town in front of somebody who happened to own a camera. Change any single one of those things, and that shark dies quietly on the bottom, and nobody ever knows. So the honest position is not that it happened twice and never again. It is that we can prove it happened, and we have no way on earth to count how many passed by unseen. The record is thin because the animal is built to go unnoticed, not because the animal is not there. And then you go south, and it stops being a mystery of ones and twos altogether. Above New Orleans lies Lake Pontchartrain, a wide, shallow, half-salt lake where families have waded and fished and swum for generations. Researchers working that lake do not find the occasional lost shark. Every warm season they find young bull sharks, and many of them are still carrying umbilical scars, the mark a pup wears for only a short while after birth. A biologist with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries named Ashley Ferguson said it about as plainly as it can be said. Those scars mean the sharks were not pupped far away. They are being born in the estuaries right next door, in places like Lake Borgne and Breton Sound and the waters off the Chandeleur Islands, and they come into Pontchartrain to grow up. The lake is a nursery. This is not dockside folklore. The state tagged 18 of these sharks and tracked their signals on receivers spread across the lake, watching them move in and out through the passes with names the locals know by heart: the Rigolettes, Chef Mentor Pass, the Seabrook. University of New Orleans researcher Martin O'Connell has followed them for years. Understand what that lake is. It sits at the edge of a major American city, crossed by a causeway nearly 24 miles long, ringed by towns where the water is warm and shallow, and people have swum off the seawall for 100 years. And in that same water, every warm season, a generation of young bull sharks is learning to hunt. They are not quiet neighbors. In 2014, a bull shark bit a 7-year-old boy named Trent Acosta while he was swimming off the South Shore near South Shore Harbor. It was the first documented shark attack in the lake's entire recorded history. He survived. The shark that bit him was likely only 4 or 5 feet long, a young one, exactly the size the nursery turns out. Not a monster from the deep. A local, born a few miles away, doing what it was born to do in the water where a child happened to be swimming. So, the comfortable explanation dies right here. A lone lost wanderer does not carry umbilical scars. It does not return every single summer. It is not born a few miles from a lake full of swimming children. In the Gulf South, these sharks are residents. They breed here, they grow up here, and for them, this is not a wrong turn. It is home. Which leaves the question you have probably been asking since the first minute. How close does this come to you? Widen the map, honestly, without stretching it. The stronghold is the lower Mississippi and the rivers that feed it, the vast Atchafalaya Basin, the coastal rivers and passes of Louisiana, the bays and river mouths of the Texas coast, and the warm rivers of the Gulf and the Southeast. Picture the specific water, Vermilion Bay and the Wax Lake outlet in Louisiana, the Pearl River on the Mississippi line, Sabine Lake and Galveston Bay down in Texas, where bull sharks are a known part of the fishery, Mobile Bay in Alabama, the Apalachicola and the tidal rivers of the Florida Panhandle. This is big, warm, low-salt river country, and it is precisely the country a bull shark is built to move through. The farther upstream you go, the rarer they get. But rare is not the same word as never, and this audience knows the difference better than anyone. What actually holds them back is real, but weaker than you would hope. Temperature is one wall. Bull sharks are warm water animals, and the northern river turns too cold for them in winter, which is why the deep inland trips are a warm season thing. But the Shell and Gardner work found their tolerance for cold is wider than anyone had assumed, so that wall is lower than we were told. Salinity is the great barrier for every other shark, and it is the one barrier the bull shark simply steps over. Dams and locks were long treated as the thing that keeps them out. Yet the researchers note those same structures fail to stop similar fish, and bull sharks handle locks elsewhere. The barrier we were counting on may be closer to a suggestion. Season is the honest limit that remains. They push up in the warm months and fall back toward the coast when the water cools. And carry this next part carefully, because it is the heart of why locals earned the right to be believed. For as long as people have fished these waters, someone has come back to the landing swearing they saw a shark where a shark could not be, and for just as long they were told they were seeing things. It was a big catfish, they were told, or a gar, or just a story that got better each time it was told. The two men at Alton in 1937 were believed for one reason and one reason only. They had a photograph. Take that single photo away, and the farthest inland shark in the country becomes another story nobody bothered to write down. Now think about how many people over the last century saw something roll in the brown water and had no camera in their hand. Then, make it personal, because it should be. The water a bull shark prefers is not the deep, clear channel. It is the warm, muddy, waist-deep edge, the slack water at the mouth of a creek, the brackish shoreline where the current slows and the visibility drops to nothing. It is the water you stand in on a hot afternoon. The exact water where you cannot see your own feet. So, come back with me to where we started. That August bank in the interior. The coffee-colored water moving slow past your legs. A surface that has looked exactly the same your entire life and gives away nothing at all. We know now that these sharks reach freshwater. They breed in the estuaries of the Gulf South and grow up in a lake where children swim. At least one of them traveled the length of the American interior and turned up near St. Louis. And the people who study them for a living cannot tell you how many made that same trip and were simply never caught. What we do not know is how far up they still go in a warm year, or how often, or whether one of them is moving right now, low along the bottom, underwater too brown to see through, doing the thing it has done for far longer than anyone was watching. Every summer, the river gives no sign. That is the part that should stay with you when you close this. Not that the water is dangerous, that it looks completely ordinary the entire time. So, I will leave you with the only question that really matters here. Which river, which lake, which stretch of brown water are you closest to right now, tonight, wherever you are watching this? Drop it below. Let us find out together how far this really reaches.